And you can also use the chat if you don't want to be heard. But with the important thing is all the media we can use to spread the word. And Linda's doing a great job setting up her YouTube channel, which you should look onto and hear her read some of these pieces. So anyway, welcome, Linda, and congratulations again. One of the challenges I found, I loved reading the book so much because it surprised me so many times. So I think we're going to try not to give away too much surprise. And those of you who read the book know what we're talking about. So I wonder if you could start by reading us something that sort of helps set up how these cats do their job, how the cats start their day, or just kind of defines what a wonder cat really is in the world of Minnie and Tashi.
Okay, I can do that. But first, Bruce, I think just to take a few minutes and tell them about your own books, just for a few minutes, and also what you're working on now, because those of you who don't know Bruce, he's a fantastic writer. He's a wonderful poet. Um, yeah, and he's written two books, and you're working on a novel, right?
Mhm.
You want to talk about that a little?
A little bit. The two books came out a couple of years ago, a year before that, and you can go my website, which tells all that story, is brucewhitacre.com. And the novel I'm working on is a fantasy novel set in a planet far away. So that's in the throes of all sorts of things. But thank you very much, Linda, for mentioning that. So, so Linda, let's get back to Minnie and Tashi and the Wonder Cats here, if you don't mind.
Okay. Would you like me to tell the people here how this got started first?
Well, I think we'll get to that after the reading here.
All
Yeah.
right. So I'm going to read just the first part of chapter 3, which is Minnie Takes a Trip. I don't know. Can you all hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. So the main characters, if you haven't read the book yet, are Minnie, the Wonder Cat, and her companion, who is Tashi, and he's a palace cat, a Himalayan palace cat, just because I was really fascinated by them when I saw them on a National Geographic special. Anyway, this is Minnie Takes a Trip, the first couple pages. Minnie the Wonder Cat and Tashi the Tibetan Palace Cat were happily housed together in the Upper West Side apartment of Lydia Firestone, aka Mumph, a professor of English to speakers of other languages at a well-known community college in New York City. Now that they lived in the same apartment, the two cats, friends since kittenhood, no longer needed to meet on the roof of their building, but it was still one of their very favorite places, and they loved spending time there when no human beings were around. One late morning, as Minnie gazed lazily at the sky, she turned to Tashi and asked, Tashi, do you ever get homesick for Catalina? Wouldn't you like to go back there sometime? I surely would. Tashi considered the idea. You know, Minnie, you've been here in New York for so long now. Our work is here. Our destiny is here. Of course, we got our start in Catalina, and all of our magical training was given to us there. I miss it too sometimes, but we both love New York, and that's a fact. Minnie replied, Oh, sure, and I'm not talking about going there for good. But you know, Tashi, ever since the great cat died, I've had this yearning to return, even just for a short visit, to see our dear old homeland and reconnect with those of our family, classmates, and friends who still live in this world. The great cat had been Minnie and Tashi's teacher in the magical feline arts. They had learned deep and esoteric wisdom from him, but also serviceable techniques of communication, such as dental telepathy, and special modes of transportation, such as flying. Their senses were extremely acute, and through the marvel of invisibility, they possessed the power to appear and disappear on a dime. All these things they had learned at school in Catalina, and they were profoundly grateful. But the great cat had done more for his students than introduce them to magic. In Minnie and Tashi and the others, He'd awakened a sense of who they really were and what they could do in the world to make things better. It was with this motivation that he'd blessed them and sent them off on their journey to New York City so many years ago. The great cat had passed away some months before. Even master cats don't live forever. Minnie and Tashi had found out about it through Cat's app, a kind of etheric telephone. They knew that in some way their teacher wasn't gone. He was still with them in spirit, and such a great being could never really die, at least in the ordinary sense. And yet his passing had brought great sadness and a feeling that life would never be quite the same again. What they were grappling with now was how to be the best cats they could be, to honor the great cat and carry out his intentions. Minnie had the feeling that this would involve upping her game in some way, although she didn't quite know how, and she wanted to explore things with fresh eyes, hence the thought of a return to Catalina for inspiration. She looked at her friend and said, "You know, when I gaze up at the sky, I so often see his face and remember his teachings." "Oh, me too, Minnie," Tashi replied. "In fact, one of my favorites was about the sky and the clouds, how our problems, like the clouds, are only temporary, and they don't alter our true nature, just as clouds don't alter the sky." "Minnie, maybe you're right. A journey back to our roots would do us both good. We could go this summer when Mumph goes to France for her Buddhist retreat." "Perfect," purred Minnie. "But you know that Mumph wouldn't go off for a month and leave us on our own. She'll get one of her friends here to stay with us and feed us. And we can't just disappear, or that person will totally freak out, and Mumph will be back on the next plane home." Let's see. "Quite right," Minnie said Tashi. "Well, here's a thought. You know how Carolyn Jones, our telepathic human pal, helped us so much when Edward Littleton, my dear Gerge, went into the nursing home and Mumph adopted me. When all that happened, Carolyn and Mumph became very good friends, and they often go out to dinner or to concerts together these days. We can send the idea to Carolyn, and I'm sure she'll offer herself as a temporary cat sitter for us when Mumph goes away. And with Carolyn watching over us, ha ha, we'll be free to depart." "Spot on, Tashi," Minnie said with a laugh. "Let's make our plans." And they did.
Thank you. Very, very nice. So we get some of the magic, and we get also, I think, some of the specialness of their relationship to something many of us on this share, and that is there's a lot of Dharmic influence and Buddhist influence in the book as well. And as you were about to say, let's go into how this book got started, and kind of what the process was like as you were putting these stories together.
Okay. Well, I had never written children's stories. It hadn't occurred to me. I'd written, Bruce, I was a teacher for over 30 years and 25 years at LaGuardia Community College, which is part of CUNY. And um, I'd written articles on education and articles on music, but I had not written any children's stories or thought about it. But I read an article in the New York Times one day about a fellow CUNY teacher who had assigned her ESL students to write a children's story. And I decided, well, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to do the same thing. So I gave that as a writing assignment to my students. And the only rules were that they had to include something from their home culture and then something about their life in New York City. And otherwise, they could just go crazy.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I thought, well, I can't assign them something that I've never done myself. So I decided to start writing it, and I turned to St. Google and I Googled how to write a children's story. And I didn't get too much information, but it told me there has to be a beginning, a middle, and an end, and some point of conflict in the middle, and good characters at the beginning. So I thought, okay, I can do that. So I wrote the first story in the book to just kind of keep pace with my students and help them along. But it was so much fun to write that I just kept writing them after that, and turned out about one a year after that, you know,
Mm.
and now there are seven of them. So they're all together.
So this began a bit in the late teens and continued through COVID. Was that kind of when
Yes,
the
that's right.
project
That's
happened?
right.
Yeah, very good. What are some of the writers who've influenced you in some way or that you admire? Maybe not necessarily for this book, but as you turn to writing, who are some of the writers that you enjoy?
Well, my favorite in earlier times was Anthony Trollope, and I've read many, many of his books. I have probably 25 of them, but I haven't read them for quite some time. But he was certainly an influence because I always liked his characters. Yeah, I always did enjoy reading his books. So he's one, I guess, and Jane Austen of an earlier vintage. Um, Recently, one of my friends started reading the books of Alexander McCall Smith, and I read some of them too, again connected with the college some years ago. And when I thought about it, I thought, well, he probably influenced me too, because he has such a very light style. He's so prolific. He's written so many books. I especially like the Ma Ramatswe series, what is it? The ladies detective agency, the number one ladies detective agency. And there are, I think, 25 of those books. And I haven't read them all. I've just read a few. But he has very good characters as well. And they get into all kinds of scrapes. But they're wonderful human beings, and they come to terms with ethical problems, and they make decisions, and it's all done with a very light touch. So it leaves people smiling. So I would
Mm.
say he's an influence.
Yeah, that I can see in those kinds of aspects of your writing. The building where you live plays a big part in this book, and I wonder for those of us who don't know it, if you could describe the Ansonia and a little bit about how you got into that building.
Maybe Andy can help me, although she's not showing herself. Um, well, it's a beautiful old building. It's called the Ansonia. It's at 74th and Broadway. And when was it built? Like 1904, perhaps. William Earl Henry Stokes was he produced the building. He was not the architect, it was a French architect. Um, and he had many scandals associated with him. And it's always been a very colorful building. Many famous opera singers have lived here. Caruso lived here for a while, and Lily Pons, I think Eleanor Staber, a number of famous singers. The conductor Toscanini was here, and the baseball player Babe Ruth was here for a while. And oh, Marcia is here. Oh, cool. Hi, Marcia.
Hi.
It's a really historic building. A lot of scandals connected with the building. Before I moved in, there was the Continental Baths, where Bette Midler got her start, I think, and Barry Manilow. And about the time I moved in, which, good grief, next summer it'll be 50 years that I've been in this
Wow.
little two-room apartment. So anyway, um, yeah, when I moved in, there was a place called Plato's Retreat, and it was kind of a nasty
Oh
straight
dear.
club. And women in the building, men couldn't go in if they were single men. They had to go in with a partner. So they stood around outside the building trying to solicit people to go in with. Uh, that didn't go down well.
It's on 74th and Broadway, is that right? So it's
74th
right in the
Broadway,
heart of the Upper West Side.
73rd and 74th.
73rd, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So another character, Minnie, was a real cat. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about her and a little more maybe about how Tashi came into your life, and how you chose that breed and why two cats and so forth.
Well, Minnie was a real cat, and I think she came to me. I got her on the street. It actually matches something in the book, but I bought her on the street in 2002, and my previous cat had died several years before. And so a friend of mine called me and said, "Well, there's this beautiful cat uh, down the street from you, about 5 blocks, and you should see it." And I didn't want another cat, but I checked, and then I had to go to school. I was working a night class, and I thought to myself, well, if this cat is still here when I get out of school, um, I'll take her home. And she was, and I took her home, and that was Minnie. And she lived with me until 2019. So I guess that's 16, 17 years. Yeah. And she was beautiful, a really lovely cat.
Yeah, I've met her once, I think, and she was, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the names of the humans that are given in the book, Mumph and Gers,
Yes.
what is that about?
I don't know. It just kind of came to mind, but actually, Mumph, that's sort of what Minnie used to say. She didn't talk much. My present cat, Tigger, who will not come, uh, um, he talks a lot, but Minnie didn't talk a lot. But every once in a while, she'd look at me kind of in distress and say, Mumph. And
Mm.
so that was where that name came from, and the Gurge I just made up.
So many is so Mumph is a direct quote, and
Yeah,
Gers is fiction.
that's that's right. And Tashi is fiction. I made him up.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, because
yeah.
as I say, I was really curious about palace cats. I thought they were so lovely, and palace cats cannot live in a person's home. They're wild animals, um, but my Tashi is not quite so wild.
They're kind of like Asian bobcats, I get the sense that
Yeah,
they're
that's right.
small and very attuned to the wild and
Yes,
that
that's right.
yeah,
Very, very furry.
yeah.
Illustrations don't quite do it in the book for a palace cat, but one can look it up.
I was gonna ask who did the illustrations? They're so charming.
I don't know the name. I tried to get the name, but they wouldn't tell me.
Okay.
It may have been kind of a conglomerate,
Hmm.
various people working on them. I'm not sure, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't. And they don't have the name of the illustrator here, so.
No, I saw, yeah. But they really add a lot to the book. I thought they were really well done. So now the thing that I think really sets this book apart from a lot of superhero material, movies, comic books, or books, is the way you resolve the way the cats resolve the various conflicts, the way they rescue people, the way they resolve situations. And it's sort of, and forgive me if I go off into writer nerdland for a while, but in Western literature, we have this idea of conflict and resolution. That's what drama is all about. There's a protagonist and antagonist. They have a battle, somebody wins. But that's not what happens in these stories. And a very smart writer wrote a few years ago about a person of Asian background. He said there's actually another storytelling tradition in Asia where you don't resolve a story by conflict and you don't even give the protagonist that much agency to do that because that's not the lived experience of most people in those cultures. So what you have are episodic sagas, and often you have magic, coincidence, Deus ex machina, all the things that Aristotle hated, used to resolve plots, which is very much what is happening here. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about why you're swerving, not that this is an Asian book or anyway, but why you're swerving kind of away from that Western formula of dramatic resolution.
That's a hard question to answer. It wasn't anything I did deliberately. Um, I anybody who's going to be a character in anything that I write um, will have to be multifaceted for one thing, and not pure good and not pure evil. Um, one of the things I do believe, and this is kind of dharmically related, but that all of us, even those whom we won't name, have goodness within, and well, can grow, that we all have magic in us. And so in a way, that kind of coming into our better nature is where all of these plots go. And so even the villains aren't really villains. Um, they are resolved through magic, but it's not a magic that we don't have access to. I
Mm.
mean, we may think, well, I can't fly, but I think if we really worked hard enough, we probably could. Uh, I don't know, Bruce. The truth is these stories just kind of came of themselves, and the cats took the action away. I didn't plot out what was going to happen. I just started writing, and then they unfolded. Um, and that's the way they were. And I
Mhm.
tried to kind of link one to the previous one, um, sort of like Wagner's Ring Cycle, when characters would discuss what happened in the previous opera, um, just so that anybody could pick it up at any point. But they are sequential, and they're in the book in the order that I wrote them.
I was
Uh,
going to ask if there was a question about the order, if that had changed in any way, because there's a very nice shape as they build. They really seem to me to be very much in the right order, and very, very interesting thing. But I commend you, because I do think that's a struggle a lot of us have, not only in writing but also just in dealing with the world as it always has been, but as it may be especially today, is this idea of polarity and polarization, dualism, and the stories really kind of are a way of charting a path away from that. And I think that's one of the parts of the book that make it so fascinating. So congratulations to you. Maybe
thank
we're
you.
ready to hear a little bit more of that, maybe to hear a bit about that, some of this in action, if you will. If you're ready, if you'd like to do the second excerpt, we could do that now.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm lucky because Bruce helped me choose these excerpts, and I think they're better than the ones I'd come up with myself. So anyway, we're going to go to the very first story. And in this first story, Minnie and Tashi discover that there is a kidnapping gang, well, a couple called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And Mr. and Mrs. Smith have kidnapped a whole bunch of children and also kittens, and stored them in this store, actually. And the cats discover it, and they rescue the kittens. However, there's one kitten left behind, and Tashi goes back to rescue the kitten. But uh, when he gets there, he does rescue the kitten. However, Mr. and Mrs. Smith come back to the place, and they catch him and they put him in a cage. So at this point, Minnie knows about this, and she's going up to rescue Tashi. And I say up because she goes up to the roof and comes down through the chimney. Okay. Minnie flew up to the roof once more, where she spent a few minutes in deep meditation. Then she clothed herself in complete invisibility and disappeared down the chimney. Once in the room, she signaled Tashi to stay quiet. She observed the Smiths sitting at the table, drinking beer and talking. Mrs. Smith was saying, "So I'll call this list of 10 big collectors and see who wants to spend big bucks on a palace cat." "Yeah, but then we have to beat it," Mr. Smith responded. "The cops are going to find out about this place sooner or later. We need to find a new hideout. It's a shame. This place has been ideal. As they talked, Minnie circled around them 7 times, binding them gently with a golden lasso, the magic lasso of love. Then she stood aside. "What's happening, Albert?" Mrs. Smith asked. "All of a sudden, I feel very strange, like something is coming all apart inside me. Nothing to hold on to." Mr. Smith nodded slowly. "Yes, I feel it too, but it's not completely bad. In fact, I feel sort of warm inside, like Mum's just given me some good warm cocoa, and now it's time for bed." He started to doze off, but woke up with a start when his wife called his name sharply. "Albert," she shouted, "what's the matter with you?" Mr. Smith responded dreamily, "Oh, yes, dear. I was just thinking. You know, Gloria, there was a time when we made an honest living. We were happier then. Do you remember?" "Yes, I suppose so," his wife admitted. "Not so many worries in those days. We taught children instead of kidnapping them, and we always treated animals with respect. What happened to us? The bitter blows of life, I suppose, and a love of money," Mr. Smith replied. "But I don't really like what we've become. We're not even nice to each other anymore." "Nice? Who cares about nice? Grr," Mrs. Smith growled to herself. But under the influence of the golden lasso, she suppressed that thought. They began to glow. At length, Mrs. Smith asked, "Albert, do you think it's too late to change? Maybe we could make a fresh start. Let's release this palace cat and not even try to chase after the others. If the cops catch us, we'll throw ourselves on the mercy of the court. And if that doesn't work, well, I guess we'll just do our time." Again, she had second thoughts. "Good grief, what am I talking about? Go to jail? Moi? I must be losing my mind." But then once more she felt the pull of the lasso of love and came back to her better nature. She continued, "Then after that, we'll start over again. Maybe adopt some kids and kittens, start a small daycare center." Mr. Smith concurred. "I'm with you, my dear. You always were the brains of this operation." Gently, they took Tashi out of the cage, and he jumped out the window with invisible Minnie right behind him. Mr. and Mrs. Smith stayed seated at the table, finishing their beers. They began to sing old love songs from their youth as they gazed sappily into each other's eyes.
Thank you. It's really very nice. Thank you. So I hope everyone gets a flavor, if you haven't read the book yet, of the approach to conflict resolution that Minnie and Tashi go out in the world with. Um, a couple other questions, and then we'll open it up to everyone. It's wonderful. So many good friends are here and family members, and thank you very much. Linda, did you have an age group? This is a fable for all ages, and it's being kind of categorized as a young adult's book. But did you have an age group in mind when you wrote it?
Well, not exactly, because as I said, Bruce, when I started, it was sort of to teach my students how to do it. And I was thinking, well, it didn't really fit with young children in a way, because the language is not quite for them. But then on the other hand, I didn't think of it as adults. So no, no, they categorized it as young adult, but I think it is kind of everybody, and the stories got a little bit more complex as they went along, so that the last stories wouldn't really be so good for children, probably. Uh,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I haven't had that much feedback, so I don't know yet
Yeah,
what. Oh, I one person told me that like a 13-year-old that she was working with really liked the book or liked the stories that I sent.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, young adult is such a flexible category because the Twilight series and Hunger Games are all young adult as well. So that's a nice category to be in. Um, One of the things that is interesting as an ESL assignment is children's books generally have simpler language. So it's easier for someone who's not fully um, formed in English to write that kind of story. So I'm sure that was part of the reason that sort of assignment worked well for the
That's
class.
true, and they wrote really good stories, as I recall, and illustrated them in all different ways.
Mm.
Yeah, and they enjoyed doing it. They really liked the challenge of it, so it was good.
Good. There's a lot of music in the book. There's a kind of opera education, very much appreciated by me. Could you explain your own background in music? I know your family has a lot of musical talents and labors and so on.
Yeah, we're a musical family. My sister, who is here, was a French horn player and a pianist, and my oldest brother played piano, and my other brother plays jazz piano. So we always had a lot of music in the house, and I sang, um, and did some singing professionally, not a whole lot. Um, but anyway, it's been part of my life for a long, long time, and I've worked on a lot of operas. So the ones that are cited in the book are all ones that I have a special feeling for.
Hmm. And you sing with a chorus here in New York, is that
I
right?
do that now. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. What's the name of it?
Riverside Chorus.
Ah,
Riverside.
yes. And do you have a concert coming up?
Actually, I took off this fall.
Hmm.
Yeah, there will be a concert in December, but I'm going to join them again in the spring, I think.
Yeah, I've been to some of your concerts. They're really wonderful. So, and do you have any appearances coming up or any place that you would like to bring the book?
I'm going to do another Zoom reading in New Jersey, or I'm going to be here, but
Hmm.
it's with a host in New Jersey. Other than that, nothing yet, but I'm available if anybody wants me to read.
Yeah, good, good. No, it's really important. These appearances are a really important part of getting the word out about a book and things. And these days, for my own publisher's experience, the appearances are kind of where books get sold. In fact, they don't just pop off the shelf into people's
Mhm.
backpacks and things. So that's very important. But um, do you have any other projects you're working on right now?
No, no, nothing yet. Something will come. But I've taken a leaf from your book and I've been writing haiku. Yeah, I've been doing that just for fun, not for anything to show anybody, but just for fun.
Oh, good.
But
Yeah, very good.
something will come. A while back I thought, well, maybe I'll write another mini story, and I started, and then it just didn't happen. So something else will take its place, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good. And then finally, before we break up this part of it and open up to everyone else, I want to encourage everyone to please make sure to review the book on Goodreads or Amazon. Those are very important to the success of the book, and it's a hard thing for writers to ask themselves. So, on Linda's behalf, I want to ask you to please review it because it makes a big difference to the life of the book going on.
Thank
And
you. It's a very nice thing, Chip.
yeah, no, I've been there. Hard, hard experience. So thank you, Linda, for the conversation. I'm going to take the spotlight off and we can open it up to everyone who's here. Thank you again, everyone, for coming.
Yeah. Oh, hello, Heidi. And Miriam's here too. How nice. And Karen, all these really
Hi.
nice people are here. Hi.
So if you
Hi.
want to wave your hand or raise your hand if you're used to doing that, I'll try to call on folks. I have the screen here. If you have any questions or thoughts. Yes,
Andy.
Andrew.
Yeah, I just want to say, I read the book and I read it in manuscript and I was absolutely delighted. But I have to say that this evening, to hear the mellifluous voice of Linda reading her stories was just perfect. So thank you for that, Linda.
Thank you, Andy. What a nice thing to say. Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Should
it's
you,
been so nice to have Andy's support over this time too. It's
mm,
meant a lot to me.
oh, thank you, Andy.
Mm.
Other questions or comments?
Bill.
Uh, I, I have a comment, which is I've read the book and I, of course, loved it. And you both have touched on this uh, in your discussion, but I just reiterate the fact that what I found sort of interesting in each of the stories was that Minnie and Tashi go after what would be perceived as villains and win. And a lot of times that would be the end of the story.
Mhm.
But it's not the end of the story. And that's what I liked because the villains, shall we say, the basic goodness, what we might call bodhicitta, of everyone is recognized by the cats, and they are redeemed as well, even though they've done some bad things like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So I found that really wonderful. And I was also interested in the fact that you named Minnie after a character in The
Fidel
Girl
West.
of the Golden West. It was
Right, Bill. You got it. Yeah.
yeah, it was great. And because Minnie at the end of the opera goes around and touches the miners and recognizes their goodness too. So I
Yes.
love the book.
Well, thank you so much, Bill. That really means a lot to me. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Bill, you're a wonderful audience for this book because of your extensive opera background. I just thought of that as you
Well,
were
of course,
saying that.
I love the scenes at the Metropolitan Opera.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
This is Peggy. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Peggy.
Yeah, one of the things I loved was Linda's use of puns. I wish I had written them down because they were just so sophisticated and funny. And I don't think maybe a 12-year-old would have gotten them all. So I think it's very much a book for adults. It's not just, well, it's for sort of everybody, but there are different ways in which she appeals to different audiences.
Thank you. Well, that kind of just happened as it went along, you know. I mean, I sort of amused myself in that way. Yeah.
I love the Bodhicattras.
Yeah, the Bodhisattvas.
My favorite thing.
Did you have your hand up, Gwendolyn? You have to unmute. Oh,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just fantasizing here, okay? But it just seems to me that these stories and these characters would really make wonderful anime.
Mm, mm,
I mean, looking down the road,
mm.
I don't know where you could pitch it, but this would be a wonderful anime series.
I don't know either. If anything comes to you, you know, let me know.
Okay.
I think there were times when I was sort of thinking along the same ways, but I don't know. I don't have any idea how to do that. Yeah. Thank you. Marcia, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah. Hi, Marcia.
Hi, it's wonderful to see you too. And I personally knew Minnie. I'd driven her from New York City to her grandma's house
Yes, that's right.
in New Jersey, and she had the most beautiful blue eyes, and she was just so sweet. And it warms my heart to hear you read. I haven't read the book, but after hearing you, and I'm really inspired to go get it now.
Oh,
So,
wonderful.
like Bruce said, it's very important to hear the readings, especially from you, because it does reach you in a deep state, especially if you're familiar with the Buddhist teachings. And it was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you so much.
You may have noticed I did put the Amazon purchase link in chat in case that's the way you would like to get the book.
Mhm. It would be nice to have you do an Audible, if that, if you could possibly do that, because your voice really makes it very rich.
Thank you.
Linda, could you explain a little bit better why the name of the illustrator is not shown or mentioned or acknowledged?
Well, I don't know, Peggy. It's this Austin McCulley Publishers.
Yeah.
Because I asked the same thing. I didn't like it, frankly.
I mean, did they generate them through AI? Do you
No,
think that
no, no. They told me they
it
would
was
not do that. And
right?
I had enough proofs, and a lot of things just didn't happen at all. They weren't any good. So things had to be narrowed down a lot. It was a long process, actually. But yeah, I don't like that.
I would imagine it was probably a staff artist who's doing this basically as work for hire, and so is not their contract, their arrangement is they don't get credit for their work in some way. But that would be my hypothesis.
That seems wrong, don't you think, Bruce?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Because when they do get credited, it could affect your future rights and all those kinds of things. So if they worked it out that way, that may be the way they prefer to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when you have collaborative projects, I know playwrights or music book writers who don't get the music arranged or contracted properly lose a show because they can't remount it without rights to the music. So a lot of things, when you get into these collaborative efforts, rights become kind of a morass.
Well, Andy could probably tell us more about that if he wants to.
No, yeah, no, Bruce is absolutely right. Yeah, it probably is a work for hire. I was struck when I bought the book to see that there was no illustration credit, but I figured that yes, they probably did not want to have the complications of a multi-contract with different identities. So it's a shame because the art I think is very evocative, and I think really some of the action scenes were very, very well represented. So they did a good job, whoever it was.
Yeah, they did.
And you did a good job honing it for them too, Linda. I want to say
Oh, yes, I had to give them the ideas and I had to say, oh, no, we can't do that.
yeah, that's
Number
nice
five.
that you were heard. Any other questions or comments? Can anybody think of a place where Linda could appear, or a store you may know? One of the best things you can do is to go to a bookstore and request the book and have the bookstore order it. That helps maybe get it onto the shelf, and the book is available in paperback, hardcover, and ebook formats.
Yeah.
No, it's not an ebook. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I read it. I have an ebook of it.
It's an ebook. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a big plus, especially for those of us who have space limitations.
Linda,
In the chat.
do you have
Yes.
any interest in coming to Boston?
I wouldn't mind coming to Boston.
Uh,
Would you
we
like
have a
me
lot
to-
of bookstores.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are
Yeah.
bookstores here too. Yeah. If
Right.
if you get me something, I'll come. That would be a trip worth. Yeah.
If we build it, you'll come.
Yeah.
I think you could be
Okay.
an interesting reader in an interfaith gathering, Linda.
Interfaith gathering.
Yeah, because you make concept ideas of Buddhism Dharma very accessible, and they're in action. They're not just philosophies in this book. I think that could be an interesting venue, and churches do a lot, and synagogues and so forth do a lot of that kind of programming.
That's true. Okay. Well, all these things have to be looked at. I'm not a very good hustler in that way. So if anybody has ideas, I'm very much open to them. Heidi, there's somebody else here with your name, and that doesn't make sense to me. Can you see it? There's another person who's marked with your name. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, there's an empty chair called Heidi Arbiter. He might be logged in twice, which is no problem.
I
Oh,
forwarded the email.
Ah.
There she is right there. Yeah.
okay.
I forwarded the Zoom code to her. She's my friend Marty. I
Oh.
forwarded the Zoom code to her. I don't know why my name is coming up there
That's
as well,
okay.
but
Hi, Marty. Welcome. Don't disappear.
Yeah. That's perfectly fine, Heidi. Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
yeah.
Brilliant. Any other comments or questions?
Nancy Searles has a
Yeah,
comment.
Yeah.
I got the thing. I love this book. I loved all the stories, but one thing you haven't mentioned is how appealing it is for cat people. I'm not exactly a cat people, but the way you described Minnie in the beginning about, just waiting for Oomph to come home, and then they would run up on that she has this secret life. It made me see, like, well, maybe all cats have a secret life, and I didn't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
there's that stream too about cat people, so
Yeah.
I think it will appeal to them as well.
Yes, I think you're right, Nancy.
Absolutely.
This was actually Mary Ann's idea to go to cat places, what are they called, Mary Ann? Cat what?
Cafes.
Cat
Cafes.
cat cafes, yes.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. And so sort of starting to look into that.
Yeah, a lot of cafes sell books. And I'm sure a cat cafe would be happy to carry a book like this. Linda, any further thought? Yes, Wendelin.
Am I still unmuted?
Yeah,
Can
you're
you hear me?
fine. Yep.
Okay. Have you thought about trying to get this book picked up for a second edition by a larger publisher? I'm thinking of someplace like Shambhala. They have a whole line of children's books.
Well, I haven't, and I don't know how that goes exactly. But it might be a good idea.
Because of course they've got, extensive marketing if they picked it up.
I think before it actually happened, to be honest, I think I wrote to them with a proposal and they said no. So I don't know if that means after the fact that they'd be interested in it or not.
It wouldn't hurt to just send them drop one in an envelope and send it to them. If it goes nowhere, you've lost nothing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Does Shambhala have a catalog, or you could run an ad in Shambhala and or through their channels?
Oh, they have a website, an extensive website.
Yeah, you could run an ad through their channels or the publisher could, whoever does those things for you. That would be a very good channel for this book, actually.
Yes, it would.
Maybe a little better than being published by him.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
if you know more about it, tell me, Wendland, whenever. I heard somebody, yeah, Rich.
Yeah, maybe one of these pet chains would pick it up, something like a Petco or
Oh,
what have you.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
good
that's
idea.
a good idea. Yeah.
Take it to your vet to have it available for folks in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh, yes, all right.
I mean, I was usually too busy reining in a dog to read anything in the vet's office, but cats are probably a different matter. So anyway, Linda, any other final comments before we wrap up? Or do you want to maybe do another quick reading of a passage? I'm not sure. I don't want to put you on the spot, but don't want to.
What it would be at this point, and it's probably It's probably long enough. Yeah. Well, I really want to thank everybody for coming. It's been beautiful to have you here. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank
Well,
you.
congratulations. Do please review the book, those of you who've read it, and when you have read it, do give, even just clicking stars, you don't have to write anything, although that helps, but just clicking stars makes a big difference. So, because I think that's partly how a Shambhala might be more likely to pick up the title if it's got a lot of good reviews and reader response. So there's all sorts of places this could go. But
Okay.
several folks here were acknowledged in the book, and so it's always a community project, isn't it, Linda?
Yes, it is. Oh, I see Kathy Newbern just said something. Thank you, Kathy. Nice that you were here. I didn't know you were here. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. A number of people have stayed dark.
Well,
Yeah. All right.
Linda,
Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
thank you, Linda. Congratulations,
Linda.
everyone. And
Yay.
we will keep track of things, Linda. Best of luck as this goes forward then.
Thank you so much, Bruce. Thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you.
Good
Yes.
night.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
Charming story.
Good
Bye.
night,
Good
Bodhicatters.
Thank.
Good night.
Good night.
Love you, cousin.
Love you too. Love you too. And Marcia, how good to see you again.
Oh, great to see you. Great to see you.
Years.